For the second time today, we'll start the Crypto Blast again. Spaces is having an absolute mare. Well, that or I am. Welcome to today's Crypto Blast with myself and Cam from Institutional Fi, where Cam will be giving us a rapid roundup of latest pricing flows and market movement using crypto markets. Hopefully, we get a bit further than the 2 minutes we had the first time around before it cuts out. But before Cam cracks on to tell us about Bitcoin all-time highs, I'll get the legals out of the way. Nothing discussed with this Spaces session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ, Institutional Fi, myself, Ryan Paisley, or indeed the magnificent Cam. And Cam, unfortunately, that huge, very incredibly generous intro I gave you last time, no one's going to know about it. It's not going to be recorded. Sorry, mate.
I know, I got gassed up and now just the rug's been taken underneath me.
It's almost like
redo it. Rug the space and redo it. Come on.
Sorry, mate, sorry.
We'll jump into it. Thankfully, I've got notes, so I'll be able to go over it again. So yeah, as we were just mentioning, I suppose we didn't mention, but it is a lovely sunny day here in England, so I think that's why our moods are quite positive today.
Absolutely.
But I've got a permanent smile on my face this week, as Bitcoin's just doing its thing, trotting around, new all-time highs, within just a couple of percent. Altcoins are on the rise, but let's jump into that. So Bitcoin remains range bound, but just below its all-time high, trading around $119,000 with a modest 2% fluctuation so far today. This consolidation, just shy of record levels, underscores the ongoing market strength that we've been seeing so far this week. A key trend is on the uptick is retail trading activity, which has coincided with the decline in Bitcoin's market dominance from just 66% in late June to 61.4% now, as capital circulates into altcoins. The total crypto market cap reached $4 trillion. That is trillion with a T in the early hours of this morning.
It's mad. Take a step back. Take a step back. Just soak that in for a second.
Yeah. $4 trillion total market cap, and like we just mentioned, over 61% of that is Bitcoin. Over 10% of that is Ethereum, and then we can break it down into smaller percentages from there quite drastically. But again, massive market cap for the crypto sector. And we're going to jump into what's been driving that. Many of the top 20 alternative assets hovering around their highs, or making new all-time highs. Notably, XRP set a new all-time high in the early hours of this morning at $3.66, briefly pushing its market cap above $200 billion. But actually, I've just had a look and it sat over $200 billion now. This surge was largely driven, and I think this was quite interesting. So going beyond just the surface and a little bit more digging this morning, and this surge was largely driven by South Korean demand, as one peg stablecoins fueled a third of BitGet's 24-hour XRP volume on the exchange. And this was in particular to the XRP KRW trading pair, which was the Korean one peg stablecoin that we mentioned was released just the other week. $2.2 billion fueled through BitGet yesterday, accounting for a third of the exchange's 24-hour trading volume. So massive demands coming from South Korea, targeting XRP, and that can go toward that move that we saw over the last 24 hours. Ethereum has confirmed, that major breakout that we were monitoring, the golden cross, the 50-day moving average, at 200-day moving average, advancing 43% since it confirmed under 2 weeks ago. Institutional treasuries played a role as well, with Ethereum's massive move to the upside, with one treasury, ETH Treasury, now topping over $1 billion in holdings. There's more to follow on that story as we continue. Ethereum price now sitting at $3,614. So moving on to the ETF flows that we've seen. Bitcoin spot ETFs brought in yesterday. I lost the spaces, but hopefully you can still hear me. Bitcoin spot ETFs brought in $523 million on a net flow basis. Ethereum spot ETFs brought in $602 million on a net inflow basis. It was massive, outpacing Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was in the 500s. Massive, absolutely massive. The day before that was over $700 million. So ETH now, ETH ETFs now total over $1.7 billion in purchases this week alone. And that is what's just been brought in. That's not on a net basis. And the week's not finished yet. We've still got today's trading activity. So that number, if the trend continues, could exceed $2 billion. Bitcoin spot ETFs in total net inflows so far this week have brought in over $2 billion. We mentioned XRP. XRP trades at $3.44 currently. BNB trades at $736. And Solana slightly slacking at $178 and slacking compared to its peers, in the top 5. The reason for this, and I'm only going to mention this because we're starting to see Solana added to treasuries, to corporate treasuries, in massive amounts. So we should mention on-chain activity regarding Solana, even though it's not very mainstream focused in terms of sensible news. But Pump.fun recently saw its coin for the ecosystem launched, with the airdrop taking place. Now, a significant amount of selling has happened to the market cap of Pump. Obviously, it was an airdrop that got released to people. So no doubt they want to just essentially cash in, which, quote unquote, doing Ryan's air quotes here, free money, and trading out.
I can see him, mate. I've got the VIP line. I can see your air quotes.
So yeah, typically, when you get these airdrops, you want to either swap out to the native ecosystem asset, or you'll swap out into the ecosystem stablecoin. So typically that will be USDC or Solana. Now it seems like we're seeing a lot of swaps out to Solana and then selling Solana, and in order to cash out on these profits. So we've seen kind of a suppression in price of Sol. Now that I think the market cap of Pump is reduced more than 50% since the airdrop. I believe it was the beginning of this week. You could then start to see a little bit of momentum fall into Solana and catch up as the selling pressure subsides over the next coming days. So I would be putting Solana on top of my watch list as we head into the weekend. So if we cover into some of the news highlights that we've seen over the last couple of days, Thumbs Up Media, backed by Donald Trump Jr., approves a $250 million investment in cryptocurrencies, including BTC, XRP, and Dogecoin. Yes, adding a meme coin into there. Russia's largest bank, Bank, to offer crypto custody services, and it looks like they've started. Canary Capital files for the first state-injected ETF in the US, with the ticker ING. Tether minted an additional $1 billion in the early hours of this morning, and that pushed their 24-hour mint to over $3 billion over the last couple of days. So no doubt they'll be entering into the treasury market to back up their reserves there. Strategic ETH reserves surpassed $8.5 billion with participation from 53 separate entities. Again, so this could lead into the reason as to why we've seen such a push in the price of Ethereum, as the corporate treasuries strategic reserves have amounted to over $5.5 billion in worth. The total crypto market capitalization, as we briefly mentioned at the beginning of this call, reached $4 trillion, with BTC accounting for, and this is according to CoinMarketCap, 59.9%. Their dominance factors work slightly different to how BTC.D works on TradingView. So 59.9% and ETH at 10.8%. And in the past 24 hours, we've seen BTC rise over 2% and ETH over 8%. According to Ember CN, which is an on-chain tracking tool, the quote unquote, again, Brian's air quotes are being heavily featured today, 80k BTC ancient whale. Yeah, I know, you've got to throw him out a couple of times, isn't it? It's just as long as no driving past and think I'm throwing gang signs at them. that could end badly. So maybe I'll just do I can't do them under the table. That would be terrible. That wouldn't look good either. Anyway, moving on. 80k BTC ancient whale moved another 40,000 BTC worth $4.8 billion to Galaxy Digital in the early hours of this morning, UK time. Over the past 3 days, this whale has fully offloaded their entire wallet of 80,202 BTC held for 14 years. I believe we need to just give this man a round of applause.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or woman, or woman.
Or woman. It could have been a woman. So this was worth around
If you are a
9.5
woman, and you're just catching out, you can reach me at 07834.
Yeah. Yeah, give them all your details. Give them all your details and your banking sort code, probably. So right, this wallet was basically sold entirely for $9.5 billion, an average price of 118,000. The original value was 132,000. So they are up 72,000x on their investment. Again, just a round of applause for whoever that man or woman is, because that is truly the long hold. And we've mentioned it this week. You can't blame them for selling. They're selling into a very liquid market.
Yeah, right.
So it's a great time to buy. You can look at the price, and we've done a 2% range today, and we've just had, over one wallet alone is offloaded $9 billion and cashed out. Incredible the fact that they're selling at the right time, doing right by the market. There is the demand for it.
To be honest, as a long Bitcoiner, I'm hoping that it's not the right time. I'm hoping it doubles in the next couple of weeks. Well, it won't be. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping they're going.
Well, it is the right time.
Yeah, I'm hoping they're looking back and going, "Fuck, we missed out here."
Or did you just give your hand away to see when you want to sell yours? There we go. So some major news, and this is probably what we should have led off the spaces with, but I kind of want to just bury it in there because no doubt it was all over the headlines. The US House passed 3 major crypto bills on July 17th, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and the Anti-CBDC Act. So the Genius Act is set to become the first major piece of crypto legislation signed into law, with a signing ceremony expected at the White House this afternoon. So major news, seeing the Genius Act come into fruition after being, don't want to get too political in this space, but just citing news, held down by one party in particular. One of the political parties went on air to tell the reasons as to why they're so against one of the bills. I believe it's the Clarity Act in particular, and they were very inaccurate with what they were saying about how it could lead, companies trading under the NYSE to just choose which sovereignty wants to kind of give them guardrails to trade within, which is not the case. It's still technically under the SEC. So no, don't have to worry about people leaving the NYSE to start trading on crypto. It does, however, give another trading rail to gain exposure to. So hopefully it should be very good. But no doubt we'll start to see revisions of these bills in the near future. But major landmark for crypto as a whole. The NYSE listed Enlightify with the ticker ENFY announced that over the next 12 months, it will acquire up to $20 million of cyber tokens, which I had to look up. I'm very familiar with at least the top 50, and I had to dig this one up and do a little bit of research on before the spaces today. But yeah, they're planning to buy $20 million worth of cyber from the open market in phases as part of a long-term digital asset treasury allocation, becoming the first publicly traded company to invest in cyber.
This sounds,
and no doubt because no one's heard of them.
This sounds utterly revolting. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be. You could potentially look for a treasury unwind, for crypto treasuries, and you're going to want to look at companies investing in these types of crypto assets to fall first before the dominoes fall.
Yeah, exactly. These would be the ones that, when the tide starts going out, people, when you start seeing people be naked all along, it's treasury holding these kind of ones. They're going to be the first ones to be shown that they're not wearing any swimming shorts.
Exactly that. So I'll give you the ticker's name so that you can keep an eye on it. ENFY under the NYSE. So there we go. Nasdaq listed BitOrigin announces, again, this is very in tune with the last one, but maybe a little bit more sensible, but questionable because the amount of size. So Nasdaq listed BitOrigin announces Dogecoin Treasury strategy, planning to raise up to $500 million through $400 million equity financing and $100 million in convertible bonds to accumulate Doge assets long term, becoming one of the first public companies with Dogecoin as their core asset. No doubt they obviously are the first. Why would you do that? BitOrigin has completed an initial $15 million financing tranche, with part of the funds allocated for the first round of Doge purchases. I believe this is going to get silly very, very quickly. But yeah, that I'm just reporting the news here. NASDAQ listed GameSquare announced the completion of a public offering of approximately $70 million and stated that the majority of proceeds will be used to expand its ETH holdings, aiming to become one of the largest public listed holders of ETH. Nicely listed Bitmine announced that its holdings of ETH and ETH equivalents have surpassed $1 billion in worth. On July 8th, the company completed its initial private placement of $250 million. Bitmine currently holds a total of 300,657 ETH, valued at around 3,400 ETH per ETH. And this was the story that really broke the rise of ETH, and breaking it up past that $3,500 level that we were kind of monitoring. And we said for a couple of days on the Crypto Blast, when I was unsure as to why Ethereum hadn't moved off this news. In any other market condition, as soon as that hit the headlines, ETH would have just moved up automatically. But it wasn't. There was quite a few days of delayed price action to kind of replicate this sort of buying into its actual price. But now Bitmine have managed to accumulate enough ETH, and we've seen the price rise 43% since they announced their hold, their purchasing of $250 million. So now they're back with additional purchases is worth over $1 billion, which is incredible. The CME Group, the world's largest derivatives exchange, said that it has no plans to launch meme coin linked products due to lack of real world utility. The exchange recently expanded into Solana and XRP futures, with trading volumes reaching billions of dollars. CME is also exploring the possibility of 24/7 trading to better align with crypto markets, but has yet to make a formal decision on this, as per reports from Bloomberg. Coinbase has launched the Base app, replacing the Coinbase wallet with an all-in-one platform for social features, trading, payments, and mini apps as part of its Base ecosystem. The app entered beta on July 16th, offering users a smarter wallet and near instant USDC payments via Base Pay. And lastly, according to Reuters, Bank of America CEO Brian, I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I'm going to butcher it, said that the bank is exploring a stablecoin but has no set time limit, citing low client demand and ongoing assets of scale and potential partnerships. Morgan Stanley is closely monitoring developments, while Citigroup and JP Morgan have also indicated interest in stablecoin initiatives. I'm going to just put a PSA out here, and I'd like to kind of end the spaces on it. There are meme coins with tickers resembling stablecoin assets of these larger institutions. So you need to be really careful. A lot of these stablecoins are going to be locked out of use for retail investors. So it's good keeping that on the mind, just in case you thought, well, actually, I'd like to hold this. First of all, it needs to be $1 if they're a stable coin. It needs to be pegged.
Yeah,
and
right.
Likely,
if it looks like you might with 25 cents, there's probably something not right.
Yeah, exactly. If it's sub a penny and you're like, oh, I could be in for a win here, you're on the wrong side.
Glitch in the matrix.
Yeah. And you're not going to be buying these stable coins pegged to BTC, ETH, via the Solana ecosystem rather. It's just not going to happen, especially just yet. And there will be lots of formal announcements, and I'm sure safeguard rails in order to purchase it. And likely you'll be going through, your asset manager to buy these assets as well. So just putting a PSA out there, please be very, very mindful when trying to get a hold of these stable coins.
Incredibly valid point there, Cam. Thank you for that. And Cam, thank you for the week. Basically, you're an absolute rock star. You know how much of a fan of yours I am, not only when you just buy me a pint, but just other times too, although pints do help. Listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. Really do appreciate you. Yeah, whatever you're doing this today and this weekend, have a lovely one. Keep it tight, and much love. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
See you then.